Very special evening. This is a part of the October Gallery's 40th anniversary. The most important announcement I'm going to make is the bar is open throughout the performance. So you just it's kind of an informal cabaret style-ish thing. So don't be shy. Be polite, but you don't have to be shy. So the October Gallery 40th anniversary, we got the building in 78 and we opened in 1979. Our first show was in 79 and our first performances. At the first performance of a theater piece by William Burroughs, an interesting looking man, Indian man, was in the audience, and I introduced myself. He had a charisma and a twinkle in his eye, and his name was Tambimuttu. He became very important to the October Gallery. He had come from Sri Lanka, and in the 40s he was an important poet and publisher, editor. He was taken up first of all by T.S. Eliot, who was kind of sponsored him in a sense, and he published the most important poets in the 40s and early 50s, full stop. And many poets, he gave them their first chance. And so there was kind of an instant love between Tambi. He saw what we wanted to do with the building, multicultural center, a gallery, art, science, literature, and such. But because of him, these poets were magnetized to the October Gallery, and writers, David Gascoigne, Kathleen Raine, John Cooper Clarke, Jeremy Reed, who's reading tonight, and Lawrence Durrell. It's just kind of, the list goes on. And so we became very known in London for literature, and Tabor and Tabor being down the street, other poets, publishers nearby, of course poets, yes, the Bloomsbury set and Virginia Woolf. So it became a very important strand in the identity of the October Gallery. And so Chili Hawes is the director. She's in the audience. Elizabeth Lalushek is the artistic director. They've made the gallery the gorgeous thing that it is, with a little help from friends. And both of them are very engagé with this literary line, and I'm very grateful to the poets and writers and actors who came tonight to help us honor that legacy of the October Gallery, which I hope will be reinvigorated for another 40 years. So on your tables or nearby, you have these write-ups on each performer tonight, and it's basically in the order they'll be performing. So first is 2 songs. There's a 4-song cycle written by Benjamin Britten and W.H. Auden for a very extraordinary soprano named Hedli Anderson, who later married Louis MacNeice. They had a child, Corinna MacNeice, who was a painter, who came to the gallery early on. And then she brought her mother, and her mother sang up here. She was an amazing operatic soprano and cabaret singer. She bequeathed her piano, which is an amazing piano that Stuart Pedler is playing this evening. It is an amazing piano, isn't it? Yeah. And so Mateja is going to be singing tonight with Stuart the 4-song cycle, 2 in the beginning and 2 towards the end. So voila.
Liebe, l'amour, amor, amoris. Some say that love's a little boy, and some say it's a bird. Some Some say it makes the world go round, and some say that's absurd. But when I asked the man next door, who looked as if he knew his wife was very cross indeed, and said it wouldn't do. Does it look like a pair of pajamas or the ham in a temperance hotel? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Does it odor remind one of llamas, or has it a comforting smell? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Is it prickly to touch as a head is, or soft as either down's love? Is it sharp or quite smooth at the edges? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Oh, tell me the truth about love. I looked inside the summer house, it wasn't even there. I tried the Thames at Maidenhead and Brighton's bracing air. I don't know what the blackbird sang or what the roses said, but it wasn't in the chicken run or underneath the bed. Can it pull extraordinary faces? Is it usually sick on the swing? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Does it spend all its time at the races, or fiddling with pieces of string? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Has its views of its own about money? Does it think patriotism enough? Are its stories vulgar but funny? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Oh, tell me the truth about love. Your feelings when you meet it, I'm told you can't forget. I sought it since I was a child, but haven't found it yet. I'm getting on for 35, and still I do not know what kind of creature it can be that bothers people so. When it comes, will it come without warning? Just as I'm picking my nose, oh, tell me the truth about love. Will it knock on my door in the morning, or treading the bus on my toes? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Will it come like a change in the weather? Will its greeting be courteous or bluff? Will it alter my life altogether? Oh, tell me the truth about love. Oh, tell me the truth about love. Oh, tell me the truth about love. Driver, try faster and make a good run down the Springfield line under the shining sun. Fly like an aeroplane, don't pull up short till you break for the Grand Central Station, New York. For there in the middle of that waiting hall should be standing the one that I love best of all. If he's not
first loves was Corinna MacNeice. She was my introduction to the October Gallery. And I discovered the work of her father. And it seemed appropriate that we should be doing the Autumn Journal. And some lovely love poetry. Close and slow, summer is ending in Hampshire, ebbing away down ramps of shaven lawn, where close-clipped yew insulates the lives of retired generals and admirals, and the spyglasses hung in the hall, and the prayer books ready in the pew, and August going out to the tin trumpets of nasturtiums, and the sunflower's Salvation Army blare of brass, and the spinster sitting in the deck chair, picking up stitches, not raising her eyes to the noise of the planes that pass northwards from Leon Solent, Atracarpa and cypress, and roses on a rustic trellis, and mulberry trees, and bacon and eggs in a silver dish for breakfast, and all the inherited assets of bodily ease, and all the inherited worries, rheumatism and taxes, and whether Stella will marry, and what to do with Dick, and the branch of the family that lost their money in Hatry, and the passing of the Morning Post, and of life's climacteric, and the growth of vulgarity, cars that pass the gate lodge, and crowds undressing on the beach, and the hiking Cockney lovers with thoughts directed neither to God nor nation, but each to each. But the home is still a sanctum under the pelmets, all quiet on the family front, farmyard noises across the fields at evening, while the trucks of the Southern Railway dawdle, shunt into poppy sidings for the night. Night which knows no passion, no assault of hands or tongue, for all is as old as flint or chalk or pine needles, and the rebels and the young have taken the train to town, or the two-seater, unravelling rails or road, losing the thread deliberately behind them, autumnal palinode. And I am on the train now, and summer is going south as I go north, bound for the dead leaves falling, the burning bonfire, the dying that brings forth the harder life, revealing the tree's girders, the frost that kills the germs of laissez-faire. Westmeon, Tisted, Farnham, Woking, Weybridge, then London's packed and stale and pregnant air. My dog, a symbol of the abandoned order, lies on the carriage floor, her eyes inept and glamorous as a film star's, who wants to live, i.e. wants more presents, jewellery, furs, gadgets, solicitations, as if to live were not following a curve of a planet or controlled water, but a leap in the dark, a tangent, a stray shot. It is this we learn after so many failures, the building of castles in sand, of queens in snow, that we cannot make any corner in life or in life's beauty, that no river is a river which does not flow. Surbiton, and a woman gets in, painted with dyed hair, but a ladder in her stocking, and eyes patient beneath the calculated lashes, inured forever to surprise. And the train's rhythm becomes the ad nauseum repetition of every tired aubade and maudlin madrigal, the faded airs of sexual attraction wandering like dead leaves along a warehouse wall. I loved my love with a platform ticket, a jazz song, a handbag, a pair of stockings of Paris song. I loved her long, not until death, but till life did us part. I loved her with paper money and with whiskey on the breath. I loved her with peacock's eyes and the wares of Carthage, with glass and gloves and a powder puff, with blasphemy, camaraderie and bravado, and lots of other stuff. I loved my love with the wings of angels, dipped in henna, unearthly red, with my office hours, with flowers and sirens, with my budget, my latchkey, and my daily bread. And so to London, and down the ever-moving stairs, where a warm wind blows the bodies of men together and blows apart their complexes and cares. September has come, and I wake, and I think with joy how, whatever, now or in future, the system, nothing whatever can take the people away. There will always be people, for friends or for lovers, though perhaps the conditions of love will be changed, and its vices diminished, and affection not lapse to narrow possessiveness, jealousy founded on vanity. September has come. It is hers, whose vitality leaps in the autumn, whose nature prefers trees without leaves and a fire in the fireplace. So I give her this month and the next, though the whole of my year should be hers, who has rendered already so many of its days intolerable or perplexed, but so many more so happy, who has left a scent on my life and my walls, dancing over and over with her shadow, whose hair is twined in all my waterfalls, and all of London littered with remembered kisses. So I am glad that life contains her, with her moods and moments, more shifting and more transient than I had yet thought of as being integral to beauty, whose mind is like the wind on a sea of wheat, whose eyes are candour, and assurance in her feet like a homing pigeon, never by doubt diverted, to whom I send my thanks that the air has become shot silk, the streets are music, and that the ranks of men are ranks of men, no more of ciphers. So that if now, alone, I must pursue this life, it will not be only a drag from numbered stone to numbered stone, but a ladder of angels, rivers turning tidal, offhand, at times hysterical, abrupt. You are the one I always will remember, whom cant can never corrupt, nor argument disinherit, frivolous, always in a hurry, forgetting the address, frowning too often, taking enormous notice of hats and back-chat. How could I assess the thing that makes you different? You, whom I remember glad or tired, smiling in drink or scintillating anger, inopportunely desired, on boats, on trains, on roads when walking. Sometimes untidy, often elegant, so easily hurt, so readily responsive, to whom a trifle could be an irritant, or could be balm and manna, whose words would tumble over each other and pelt from pure excitement, whose fingers curl and melt when you were friendly. I shall remember you in bed with bright eyes, or in a cafe stirring coffee abstractedly, and on your plate the white smoking stub your lips had touched with crimson. And I shall remember how your words could hurt because they were so honest, and even your lies were able to assert integrity of purpose. And it is on the strength of knowing you, I reckon, generous feeling more important than the mere deliberating what to do. When neither the pros nor cons affect the pulses, and though I have suffered from your special strength, who never flatter for points nor fake responses, I should be proud if I could evolve at length an equal thrust and pattern. And moving away from the Autumn Journal, I had to read this, and Corinna's and my daughter, Isha, told me it's her favourite of her grandfather's poetry. Meeting point. Time was away and somewhere else. There were 2 glasses and 2 chairs, and 2 people with the one pulse. Somebody stopped the moving stairs. Time was away and somewhere else, and they were neither up nor down. The stream's music did not stop flowing through heather, limpid brown, although they sat in a coffee shop, and they were neither up nor down. The bell was silent in the air, holding its inverted poise, between the clang and clang a flower, a brazen calyx of no noise. The bell was silent in the air. The camels crossed the miles of sand that stretched around the cups and plates. The desert was their own. They planned to portion out the stars and dates. The camels crossed the miles of sand. Time was away and somewhere else. The waiter did not come. The clock forgot them, and the radio waltz came out like water from a rock. Time was away and somewhere else. Her fingers flicked away the ash that bloomed again in tropic trees, not caring if the markets crash when they had forests such as these. Her fingers flicked away the ash. God, or whatever means the good, be praised that time can stop like this, that what the heart has understood can verify in the body's peace God, or whatever means the good. Time was away and she was here, and life no longer what it was. The bell was silent in the air, and all the room aglow, because time was away and she was here.
and Fran Landesman were very much fixtures in London. I mean, like illuminated fixtures. They lit up the whole literary bohemian scene there, and they came round the gallery quite a lot. They were just kind of the life of the party, life of London, and we're very pleased to have Cosmo here share his wisdom about love.
It's going to be very short.
Yes, as well as some lyrics, poems from his mother Fran, who's one of the great lyricists.
And when this woman there said, would I like to come and read some of my mother's poetry? I said, are you kidding? It's the most insane suggestion I've ever heard. I said it to myself. I thought, I don't read poetry. I don't know how to read poetry. I certainly don't know how to read my mother's poetry. And then I heard a little voice inside my head go, what would it hurt you to go along and read some of my poetry? And it was her. It was my mother. And she kept nagging me until I finally said, okay, Mother, I'll go and read the poetry, but it's not my thing, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm very pleased to, the idea that I'm up here reading my mother's poetry is just so bizarre. My therapist would never believe it. I'm going to start off with a poem of hers called The If Game. I think it's, my mother's never really called herself a poet. She was a songwriter who engaged what is called light verse. Light verse is a multitude of sins, but I enjoy it, and I hope you will. This one's called The If Game. And before my mother died, we had difficult problems, and I always wished that, I'd been more patient and kinder and whatever. And this poem kind of resonates with me, and I think it might resonate with anyone who's had a kind of complex relationship with someone. It's called The If Game. If you had been, if we had seen, or I knew when, if we had gone 3 years ago instead of then, if I had found the time, if you'd really tried, if I could have seen what you always hide, if we had met, if he had come, if they had said, that plane we missed, if you had found, if I had read, if you hadn't run, if I'd been more free, you wouldn't be you, and I wouldn't be me. My mother wrote a lot about relationships with men. Some of it, I don't know why. It was unusual to read about your mother in such an intimate way. Sometimes it was very, explicit. Sometimes it was very humorous. But here's one I really like. It's called Deeply Shallow. I'm looking for a meaningless relationship with a deeply shallow man. Passion with all its awful fascination skip. This isn't my plan. I'm looking for someone small. I'm looking for some small talk of the smallest kind and a nice light-hearted fuck. I hope it's nothing serious that you have in mind. If so, you're out of luck. Romance is off the menu. True love was yesterday. And if you seek commitment, the answer is no way. I just can't take the sleepless nights and all that shit. I've escaped love's frying pan. Now I only want to mess around a little bit with a deeply shallow, this may be hard to swallow, but I'm looking for a deeply shallow man. And if there are any deeply shallow men in the audience, we'll try and fix you up later on. I'm going to do two more quickly. This is one I just discovered, and it represents the kind of darker side of love, and it's called Love's Eyes. I just found this afternoon. Okay. Love comes along with sweet death in her eyes, leading you down to a tunnel of sighs, whispering secrets and old alibis with death in her eyes. Love comes along with a knife in her hands, armed with the secrets of life in her hands, swinging her hips to the beat of the bands, a knife in her hand, singing, "Come here, tonight is the night." Then she blows in your ear, and out goes the light. Love comes along like some god in disguise, opening doors to a lost paradise. Scary, seductive, the ultimate prize, with life in her hands and death in her eyes, singing, "Honey, come here, tonight is the night." Then she blows in your ear, and out goes the light. I'm going to do one of my mother's songs. I'm not going to sing it, don't worry. But if you ever get a chance, I would suggest there's a wonderful album called First Take by Roberta Flack. She became sort of a pop singer later on, but she was a jazz singer to begin with. And she has one of the most beautiful voices in the entire universe. And if you can hear her version of Battle of the Sad Young Men, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Okay. All the sad young... I'm sorry. Sing a song of sad young men, glasses full of rye. All the news is bad again. Kiss your dreams goodbye. All the sad young men seek a certain smile, someone they can hold for a little while. Tired little girl does the best she can, trying to be gay for a sad young man. All the sad young men sitting in the bars, knowing neon lights, missing all the stars. All the sad young men drifting through the town, drinking up the night, trying not to drown. Autumn turns the leaves to gold, slowly dies the heart. Sad young men are growing old, that's the cruelest part. While a grimy moon watches from above, all the sad young men play at making love. Misbegotten moon, shine for sad young men. Let your gentle light guide them home again, all the sad, sad young men. Thank you. I'm going to do one more. It's called Not With a Bang. My mother died eight years ago, and this poem is a kind of how she imagined she would die. It was very strange. The night before she died, she was getting high with her musician friend Simon Wallace, eating ice cream and writing songs. And the next day I found her on the floor. I wasn't sure if she was dead. And so I said to her, "Mother, you're on in 10 minutes." Thinking she would get up and, if I had said that to her, but she didn't move, and that's when I knew that she was gone. She had such a great, rich life, even though she always said that she wanted on her tombstone to be written, "It was a good life, but it wasn't commercial." So I'm going to read this last poem out that she did. Not with a bang, but a whimper. Not with a sword, but a pin. That's how the ending will find me, here with my white Gunga Din. Sex, I recall, was enthralling, but there was always a catch. I found my way in the darkness, not with a torch, but a match. Soon I'll be making my exit, leaving my room in a mess. Not with a bang, but a whimper. Dead, I'm still not a success. I'll sleep at last in my coffin, worn out, but not very old. Dead not of terminal cancer, only a very bad cold. Thank you.
Another poem from a dead poet. This is William Blake. It's quite popular at the moment. Oh, Rose, thou art sick, the invisible worm that flies in the night and in the howling storm has found out thy bed of crimson joy, and with his dark, secret love does thy life destroy.
The saint takes the monster to church. The monster catches a cold. Here is a body. There are muscles for cruelty, muscles for kindness. There is poison and there are sweet, shrill enzymes. There is love and dirt. We are going inside. The saint doesn't know much about bodies, how they inscribe their excrescences on the earth. This is just a room with living things in it. There is the flank by flank of us, the stink of us, the zoo-ness, the how-do-you-do-ness. Our contagion of voices tangles near the ceiling in the notes of a hymn. There is the palm on palm. Oh Lord, the saint says, may we never wash our hands of our neighbour. And there is the mouth on mouth. We mouth the cup one after another. Saint and monster have kissed one another, sopping the circle of drought on our tongues. Saint and monster cluster at this watering hole, and a voice says, eat everything, drink everything, touch everything, love everything. Hello, I'm Marianne Clark. And the poem you just heard is from a pamphlet I'm working on at the moment about saints in the Christian tradition. So I thought tonight I'd do a couple more poems that explore the extremes that a few saints have supposedly gone to to express their love for God. The first one is the Diary of St. Morand, who was a French monk who allegedly fasted through Lent, living on just a single bunch of grapes. And it's divided into 6 entries. The Diary of St. Morand. 1. No, this is not a crisis. It's a seed that sends a root right through the stones and through the soil to nourishment too deep for greed. I'm ready now, I feel, to suffer you, the sufferer at my plenteous feast, always until now a disruption, with your tears and sudden laughter when I looked for praise. You're not beneath, I not above your jeers. I tell you in the vineyards while out walking in thick and flowery dusk, when you're there hidden between the sinews of the branches, stalking. I write my sainthood like the rain, unbidden. You haven't shown by any grand display that you approve. I'll do it anyway. 2. I told the brothers. Jean said I'd have died by Mothering Sunday, latest. Said I shouldn't be so melodramatic. I replied that I'd be subtle, and besides, he wouldn't be called upon to watch me. Keeping body and soul together, not, in fact, my object. To grow beyond the clutter and the clod, he, with clicks of tongue, went off to lunch. Prospect of isolation, part of the attraction. O seed within me, once cut free from slew of tares and briars, grow to satisfaction, until I meet the gardener you knew. No more of fruitless fasts. Might this be how we could begin to know each other now? 3. Like itching out of reach, like thundering fire that eats away the forest and its haze of wavy, nerveless heat. Just like desire and just like rank aversion. These last days I've spent in pacing. Gah, my putrid breath not even sound for psalms. I'm never not about the task of feeling this quick death. Like rebel branches hollowed out by rot, and everything of nothing like the wind, a positive of negative. Banal yet fiercely shocking like an ankle skinned. 1,000 achings cramped in a corral. Your face shines in the grape's reflective skin. I've lost myself out walking. Let me in. I saw I don't know what, and it was Claire, cropped hair, head like a knucklebone, girl who had everything, chose to have nothing. Father loses a daughter, and next thing she's all over the town like a map. What a sight! Barefoot and skin drawn tight as a cold snap, all shoulder blades and silence crouched in the doorways. But when you walked out with nothing but the sacrament to the edge of town, past the last houses, and stood watching, I thought you were perfect. And when the approaching army saw you, they turned back and ran without knowing why. Thank you.
That was so beautiful. Please excuse my attire. My bike took about 5 years longer than Google Maps said it would. I don't have time to change. This will be the first and last time I do this in half cycle stuff. Athleisure is supposed to be a look, Vogue says, but I don't usually like doing readings in sweaty gear. But it is really lovely to be here. That was incredible. A little louder.
But the light. Okay. Light on your face.
Is this good?
Yeah, the light on your face.
Can you hear me at the back?
Yes.
Perfect. It's called Thanksgiving. As if by accident I find my head washed up window side of his bed. After all that loving look, the sky's still pinned up. His nose is longer with his eyes shut. This whole time I've been holding, squeezing, wringing, folding, bending, nodding. Thank you, God, for giving me someone who makes me hold my breath. I will be so light upon his life, he won't realise he's kept me. I'll leave not a mark on his paper, pillows, knife, DVDs, or wine glass. What blessing. Only when he is sleeping can I breathe out so deep my ribs come up like a ship. Hotel art. We're eating roses on a rooftop, the med beneath us. They serve clouds here too, I say. Light starter, wink. Are they fluffy or black? The waiter doesn't answer. Every table is white except ours. We sit at a naked wood block, antique. There's enough of an age gap here. Need they have added 200 years? The razor clams arrive in straight lines. What's the matter? We discuss kids. Maybe it's the wine, or because my belly is beginning to push against the bones of my dress. You say, I don't think I'll identify with a brown sun. Excuse me, I rise. Spill your sparkling water, you only notice your steak. Contorting myself 3 ways in the toilet mirror, I decide I won't look like this forever. I don't even look like this now. Dessert is air from a porcelain pump. What if he has your eyes? I dare, after another glass. Back in our borrowed bathroom, I throw up pink foam, a blade of grass. Who says he isn't a daughter? I join you on the balcony. You hold me from behind, lean us over, count. We're as many stories up as our age gap. Why do you always have to? Shush, you lift my dress. I shoulder width my legs. Is love not this? Gripping a fence in the sky. So the last poem that I'll read you is, I thought, I'll read you one that is about one of the most famous relationships of all time. You're like, who? Who's the most famous? I don't know if it is. That's a big claim. Barbie and Ken. My mum would think that it was very important when I was growing up for us to have black dolls as well. Obviously now I'd be like, of course, representation is extremely important. When I was little though, I didn't want the black dolls, I wanted the real ones. So instead of, and so me and my sister would do like really horrible things to the black ones. Yeah. So there's Steve, and there's, I don't know if anyone remembers Steve, but never really remember Steve. If you say Ken, you know Ken is, Steve is Black Ken. He's not, he's a man and he's a doll man in his own right. But that's the only real way to introduce him, really, because otherwise no one knows who you mean. And we used to do really horrible things to Steve. He'd often end up in the garden, and my dad would come and was like, "Is this yours?" And we'd be like, Steve's back for more torture. So instead of dealing with my internalized racism as a child, I just interviewed Barbie instead for the purpose of this poem. It's called Interview with B, Take 2. Before he moved in, it was peaceful. All picnics, barbecues on blanket beaches, long drives in pastel convertibles. My Kenny had an army jeep, which he picked up from a steal from Sips Tea, a neighbour. He said, when I rode in it, I became even more perfect. The contrast, my angel face against the camo. Steve tried to threaten my baby. My Kenny was just retaliating, just protecting me. Steve wore bright red swim shorts, too bright. Everything about those people is so, you know. Ken ripped those right off, tossed them into the sea. Steve was so black, he never bruised. I mean, crime went up in the area, tools all over the beach. My Kenny having to keep a fork, a real fork, under his pillow. I said, baby, just leave it, forget him. But Ken said it was the principle, and I giggled. Kenny says my giggle is intoxicating. He unvelcroed my ball gown. Right there on the beach, we plays with pendant. When I awoke it, that's the right word, isn't it? Kenny was gone. My phone was back at the log cabin along with my shoes, otherwise I would have called or something. I don't like to talk too much about. Okay, fine. He went looking for Steve, found him, walking home from the pool bar he worked. Ken crimped him into the back of the Jeep. There was punching, kicking, spitting, sex, stubs out cigarette. And you know the worst thing? Turns to Ken. Tell them, baby. Tell them what you told me about the blood, how it couldn't even well in his eyes. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Anna. I think I told you, Kathleen, that I was writing an essay especially for tonight, and I haven't managed to do that. So what I'm going to do is read some short sections from, maybe just this one book actually, because it's the book I wrote longest ago. And so when I was on the train coming in, I was thinking this is actually the one that feels freshest. So it's set in 1920 in London, and it's about the aftermath of World War I. This is a scene in a nightclub where a young girl has gone to a sort of clandestine nightclub off Leicester Square, and she's having a really terrible night, but she's enjoying the music. For an electric moment, it feels as though anything may happen, until the trumpeter steps forward and lifts his instrument to play. It flashes in the low light. A flare of purest sound fills the room. Hetty closes her eyes, letting it in, letting it hollow her out. And then when the man begins to play in earnest, the notes drip molten gold into the space he has made. And standing here, full of this music, it hits her with the force of revelation that it doesn't matter. None of it, not really. She's young, she can dance, and it was worth her 10 shillings just to see this place, to hear these musicians, to tell the girls at the Palais on Monday that it's true. There is a club in the West End, buried underground, with the best jazz band since the Dixies left for New York. Are you lurking? She snaps open her eyes. The man from before is a few feet away, leaning against the wall, smoking a cigarette. I'm sorry? You're lurking, he says. I'm not lurking. Her heart thuds dangerously against her chest. You are. I've been watching you for 2 whole minutes. 2 minutes constitutes a lurk. She can feel that awful flush creeping back up her neck. I'm not, actually. I'm watching the band. She crosses her arms, looking away from him, trying to focus on the trumpeter's fingers, trying to remember how good she'd just felt. From the corner of her eye, she sees the man push himself away from the wall. You're not one of those anarchists, are you? He says. She turns to him, incredulous. His grey eyes are steady. This time he doesn't smile. I've read about your sort. You go into public places like this. His hand sweeps over the club. Hundreds of innocents. Bomb in your coat, leave it in the lavatories, lurk a bit, and then boom. He mimes something exploding. As his hands move up and away from each other, ash falls, scattering in the air. A few flakes land on her dress. For a moment she is too surprised to speak, then, my coat's over there, she says, gesturing to the table in the corner. And there's no bomb inside. Anyway, if I was going to blow something up, I wouldn't lurk. I'd leave. Ah, he nods. Well, perhaps I got you wrong. Yes, she says. You did. They hold each other's gaze. She tries to keep steady, wanting to read him, but her compass is haywire and she cannot fathom him at all. Sorry. He shakes his head, terrible sense of humour. Her heart skips. It is disconcerting, his smile so sudden, as though there were another person entirely hidden underneath. He looks respectable enough, dressed in white shirt and tails, but there's something odd about the way he wears them. She can't say just what it is, indifference. His hair is unslicked, there are purple shadows beneath his eyes. He reaches into his pocket, takes out a flask and offers it to her. Here, have a bit of this while you wait. No, thank you. She half turns from him, cringing as she hears her voice in her head. No, thank you. She sounds so Hammersmith, so up past her bedtime, so prim. Go on. It's good stuff, single malt. His eyes are laughing now. Is he laughing at her? He's the sort of man who could talk to anybody, so what's he doing hanging around here? It feels like a trick. She should go and find Gus. He must have been served by now. But she doesn't. Instead, she reaches for the man's flask, takes it, lifts it to her mouth. Because she's only here for tonight, and her companion is useless and elsewhere, and her friend is otherwise engaged, and so what has she got to lose? She's unprepared for the sharp hit of the drink, and she chokes and coughs. Not much of a whiskey girl, then. She takes another deeper pull in reply. This time she swallows it down. Thanks, she says, pleased with herself, handing it back. He looks out over the dance floor. Are you here to dance then? He says. Or have you just come to lurk? I've come here to dance, she says, as the whiskey flares in her blood. Glad to hear it. He crushes his cigarette in an ashtray nearby and turns to her. How would you feel about dancing with me? And then I was going to read something else, but I was coming into Victoria Station and And I thought I'd read this actually. So this novel follows the. It's a story of three women, but it also follows the journey of the unknown warrior from northern France to his burial in Westminster Abbey in London in November 1920. And it was an extraordinary thing. I knew so little about it before I started researching this period, but this is a segment where we see the train that came from Dover with the body of the unknown warrior come to Victoria Station. And there were so many people waiting at Victoria Station to see this body. As you'll see, they stormed the platform. There were so many people who hadn't had a funeral for the man that they had lost, be it father or brother or lover or son. Victoria Station. A mother stands against barriers, her young son beside her. She had been here since 8 o'clock this morning, determined to get a decent view. She has. She can see the empty platform that the train will come into, platform 8, by the Buckingham Palace Road. Since she read about it in the papers, she has been determined to be here, to bring her son to see his father. Her boy is almost 4 now and looks just like him. The same blue eyes, the same strong brow. She met him when she was 15. They were married 2 years later. He went away 2 months after that. Their son was born when he was away in France. She went and had a photograph taken, holding their baby up to the camera. She knows he had the picture on him when he died because she was sent his things. They arrived with the postman, a parcel of bloody uniform, and inside the jacket a bundle of her letters and the photograph of her and their son. She was horrified, incredulous, putting her baby in the garden and locking the door. She rinsed the uniform, soaked the blood, but not too much. She wanted it to smell of him still. Then she dressed a tailor's dummy in it. She keeps it beside the bed. It's been hard to keep her son amused for the long hours they've waited. They've played all sorts of games. She's told him all about his father, all the stories she can think of. Whenever her boy has needed to pee, she's held him up over the barrier so he could do it on the platform. She got some funny looks for that. But she wasn't prepared to let go of her place, and as the day has worn on, everyone started to do it. Most of the men have had a go. There was even a woman who squatted on the ground, her skirts ballooning like a strange sea creature. But all around her now, she can feel the crowd stirring. The train is coming. It's time. She gathers her son, and he puts his arms around her neck. He's coming, she whispers. Daddy's coming now. The boy looks around him. Where is he? Where? Shh. She strokes his head. He's coming on the train. The train approaches and there's a moaning in the crowd, and then they start pushing, jostling from the back, and the woman is pressed hard against the barriers and someone screams, "Stop it. There are children here, stop." The woman holds her boy tighter, the pushing gets harder. On the other side of the barriers, officials move with clipped, hurried purpose, and as the train pulls into the platform, the barriers fall and the crowd swarms out. At first she can see nothing, just smoke and the steam which billows high to the roof of the station, and then she sees it. The carriage. There's an electric light inside, and some of the young men are trying to climb up onto the carriage roof, and everything is chaos. And all around women are sobbing, loud and unrestrained. "There's your father," she says, pointing. "There he is." "Daddy?" he calls, and he wriggles from her arms and runs forward. Young men still pour onto the pavement. Policemen shout at them to get back. The woman has a terrible vision of her son trampled by these running feet. She darts after him, but a large policeman holds her back. She screams for her boy, can see him 20 feet from her, looking wildly to and fro. And then a policeman stops, leans down, takes her confused son by the hand and leads him back. The mother bends forward, gathering him up. She sobs into his neck, holding him tight, tight.
expect to say, but he frowned like thunder, and he went away. Oh, but he was as fair as the garden in flower, and slender and tall as the great Eiffel Tower, and the walls dropped out of the grand promenade. Oh, his eyes and his smile went straight to my heart. Oh, marry me, Johnny, I love and obey. But he frowned like thunder, and he went away. Oh, last night I dreamed of you, Johnny, my lover. You're the sun on one arm and the moon on the other. The sea, it was blue, and the grass, it was green. Every star rattled around Tambourine. 10,000 miles deep in a pit, there I lay. But you went Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos, and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin, let the mourners come, let aeroplanes circle, moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, love is dead. Put crap bows round the white necks of public dogs. Let the traffic policeman wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanting now. Put out everyone. Pack up the moon and its run to the sun. Pour away the ocean and swing up the world. For nothing now can ever come to any good.
William S. Burroughs was very much associated and is associated with the October Gallery. One of the first performances we had here was in the room next door, Theatre of All Possibilities adaptation of deconstruction of the countdown. And we were friends until he died. So these last journal entries of William Burroughs, particularly important because he came to some very kind of profound, life-changing revelations towards the end of his life. He would read books on NDE, near-death experiences, and he had a very profound appreciation for the theme of our evening, which is love, which you will see from the last journal entries before he died. His wife Joan, was very dear to him. She died in the early 50s. His next great loves were his cats. This is at the end of his life, in his 80s. Their names were Fletch, Ruski, Calico. You'll hear their names. He also mentioned someone associated with the gallery by the name of Felicity Mason, who was a teacher of the Michael Chekhov theater method and was very much here a lot in those days with William Burroughs and Brian Geisen. So this first entry is from July 27th. Then we had the next days of his life. Mother said about Joan, she was just like a tigress. Said so, and said no to any enforced confinement. She was right there, and other wheres and theirs. What can I say? Why, who, where, when can I say? Tears are worthless unless genuine. Tears from the soul and the guts. Tears that ache and wrench and hurt and tear. Tears for what was the way Fletch used to run into the front room and get under the bed, and now, well, I don't have to keep the door closed now, my Fletch. It hurts, these pieces of myself and Fletch, like phantom limbs, putting out the feed bowls, only need 2 now. Oh, my Fletch, my Spooner, Ruski, Calico. July 28, 1997, Monday. The doctor needed more blood from me for his tests I gave this morning. If one is immortal, imagine the pain of loss again and again as others die. So one has comparative immortality vis-a-vis his cats. Note that the most painful twinges are delivered by annoying bits. The way Fletch streaked into the front room and got under the bed, he'd never do that again. The way Calico used to scream in the afternoon. Those cries will never be heard again. They will never annoy me again. Imagine, that is, see, look at, centuries of that. For what? Or who? And sauté pourquoi? Why? Yes, no, why not? Last words of Tim Leary. Why not? July 29th, 1997, Tuesday. Good shooting. July 30th, 1997, Wednesday. Reading Titanic by Charles Pellegrino, page 18. What is an experience if it is not shared? Did it even happen? It takes another person to form an postcard with cute kittens. Falls into wastebasket. Must have slid down. Slow. Experience. As a screen. That is why God had to create. Otherwise, a centipede can be seen as a test upon which love, like St. Francis used to make, would shatter. There must be a place of failure. What life can survive an atomic blast? Psychoanalysis is an attempt to diffuse an experience by sharing. That is, by making the experience real enough to kill it. Hardly ever works. Atom bomb is the ultimate soul killer that vaporizes all. That vaporizes all debts, as vaporized the steel tower in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Fat soul. Our vegetable love will grow vaster than empires and more slow. No idea where or why that quote came from. Know the whole poem, of course. Brain littered up with old bits and pieces. Pieces of 8, screamed the parrot. Wouldn't you, if you were a parrot, had learned how? Felicity Mason, describing me to someone holding tickets I needed. When you see someone who looks like the saddest man in the world, that's him. How can a man who sees and feels be other than sad? To see Ginger, always older and weaker, the price of immortality, of course. Well, you shouldn't have thought of those things. I did. Thinking is not enough. Nothing is. There is no final enough of wisdom, experience, any fucking thing. No holy grail, no final satori, no final solution, just conflict. Only thing that can resolve conflict is love. Like I feel for Fletch and Ruski, Spooner and Calico. Pure love. What I feel for my cats, present and past. Love. What is it? Most natural painkiller that there is. Love.
Hello, I'm Jamal Moss. I'm from Chicago, and I guess I'm going to be moving without traveling is the term they would use. What's the name for it again I'm doing right now?
Very pathetic.
There you go. It sounds like thoroughly pathetic. That's what it sounds like to me when they say that. So basically, I'm going to have a little Lenny Bruce with some Dave Chappelle, with some Steve Jobs, my little personal, experience when it comes to love. So don't be shocked, don't be awed. It's just the reality that I come from, the perception that I've absorbed since I came out the womb. So don't shed tears, because we don't have a violin player, we just have a piano player. So just work with me. So when I put the hood up, I'm not trying to be the Grim Reaper, but I want you to realize whatever love that you experience in your life, enjoy it, embrace it dearly, because how I grew up and my perception of what it's supposed to be is to love, I still have yet to know or to become or grow into it. So here we go. Love. Logistics of variations evolving. Love. How I understand love is you know your place. And this is coming as a person, as a black man from America, to understand what love is. Everybody else I'm supposed to love, but the people in my environment I'm supposed to hate and detest and feel they are gross. But the person who oppresses me even happens to be my mother, my father, my sister, which I truly don't even know, but I still love them even though they do not even know how it is to encompass or love me. I am the type of individual, when I walk out my door, I'm supposed to love the popo. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, the police, if you don't know who that happens to be. But back to the popo, when I see them, I have to show them the utmost respect because they protect and serve, even though they don't love me. But I still garner and show them love so I don't catch a bullet. You know what I'm saying? When I walk out any day of the week. But I still keep hope when I try to understand what the perception of love is, because your perception and my perception are two different realities. Truthfully, when you think about love, it's not about truth, it's about perception. I can give you fact, how I grow into understanding love. At one point, I was homeless, and I had to sell myself to very wealthy women to understand a certain part of love in my life, because I didn't get it from my mom, because she left me when I was 3, and I was adopted by family members who only loved me because I was cute until I was 6. When I was 7, I had to go out and figure out and define what it is to be nurtured versus nature to understand what love is. But when I look at you, I do not hate you. That's a construct that came into reality that's defined by the powers that be. Where I come from, we call it the man, or the boogeyman, however you may see it. But I still love you, I love you, I love you, because hate is not a construct of a newborn who comes into this world, a soul. When you look at love and you define or try to understand what it is, it's a power construct. It's something that energizes you. Not the physical being, but the spirit, the soul being. That's what keeps the world going, to keep it from going totally to hell. The thing is, we all do not ascend. I learned this from the ancient masters and ancestors and the wisdom teachers who I evolved around, because I did not have the parents, the tutelage, or the knowledge. So I reached out. I deeply reached out for anywhere I could find that knowledge to become a better being. And I've been told by descendants that humanity would not evolve to the higher realm until we all love. Until then, we come back into this existence. We call it reincarnation. I don't mean to be saddened by this. That means you have to step your game up with love so we can get off this damn planet and evolve and go to heaven. But the thing is, the twisted, how they say, the twisted vernacular that I use, don't feel sad for me, because any negative thing that ever happened to me in my life, I twist a negative into a positive. For me, I had learned masculinity, it's about being macho. Abuse, adore, abuse the woman's femininity. When I was 5 years old, my babysitter loved taking care of me because my adoptive parents paid her a lot of money because they didn't want to deal with me. But she pulled out her bosom and said, you know what, you're very attractive. I find you very alluring. Here, you don't know your biological mom, but I can be this sexual surrogate that can feed you and nurture you in a certain twisted way. I didn't take it as abuse because I had to learn to love my masculinity and say, yes, this is how it's supposed to be done. 5 years old, and I'm supposed to run through it. Don't feel sad for me, because I took that negativity into positivity. To say, when I get older, I would not be that demon that possessed her, or the demon that tried to control her, and the demon that possessed that individual that caused that poison to try to infiltrate me. I surpassed that, but I still logistically have variations of evolution when it comes to love. Now, it's a point in time I had to evolve to figure out there are more than just two sexes. You know, I was in Brazil, logistics. I'm down there, and I have friends told me, be aware. I'm in São Paulo, and I see women who used to be men that have booties that I'm used to when I'm back in the hood that says, hey, this might be okay. But I'm looking at them as they're looking at me, and I'm looking around and see people see me looking at them, looking at me, and saying, hey, is this okay to love this? Definition and perception is a funny thing when it comes to love. So I decided to say, you know what? I'm still programmed a certain way that I have to fall back, even though I have these urges of a strong spirit to say, I didn't know who this person is, because I've been defined by masculine energy in my life, what love's supposed to be. So even though this person had a body that was banging, from my perception, I was like, hey, this could be okay for me. But no, I said, no, I can't deal with that because I haven't fully evolved. I haven't excelled to a certain level in life to be able to love in that certain type of way. So I had to fall back and go back to the reception of what masculinity is or supposed to be. Then it comes to a point when I decide to get out on my own and try to evolve and connect with people and embrace individuals. I come to find out love for them is only beneficial of how well it can enhance their lives. So I live in a world that anybody I encountered only dealt with me and only manufactures fake nuances of what love's supposed to be as that bosom of the person who babysitted me. They slowly gave me nurturing nutrients of milk to get more out of me. I'm in the music business. People say, hey, I love you, but I want to use you so you can stay in poverty. I get in relationships and I'm thinking it's sweet love and I become sugar daddy. Who the hell wants to move to Glasgow when I couldn't move to Portugal? So love is all perception. I could have chose this or that. Portugal would have been better when I got my heart broken when I'm immersed in love. But I chose Glasgow. But that's life. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, I'm still not bitter. It may seem like I'm jaded, and she's wrapping up, and I love her for that. But all I'm saying is don't give up hope, because I still logistically, forever evolving, trying to figure out what love is. And that's it. Thank you.
This is a poem called Nifty Jim. Stood on my nerves at 17, unambiguously gay, red lipstick gash, a giveaway of outsider providence, at skinny, grey fleck 54, girly jumper, slouch beret, Frenchifying, gender bent, aspirations to be faced him, the lipstick hitting in, first man I'd seen in public dare, common outrage in our town, small screen, provinciality, his leather shoulder bag spilling, kleptomaniacal whore, indeterminate fistfuls, makeup, lighters, paperbacks, random hits as compensation for being solo in the day, a window shopping fugitive. The sky was like a bottle fizz. An opalescent cloudy churn in underlying racy blue. The harbour coast where we stood, echoey with voice delay, bouncing around the grungy. Something opened out in me. At ordinary school afternoon, doorway incomplicity, complicity. He loaded me with trashy stash. And years later, learning his name, the thin thief Nifty Jim, detained for kleptomania. I read headlines, man in red lipstick, stole for. Man in red lipstick, stole for.
Writing outside. I write all my books outside, so this is dedicated to all the very strange people who accost me.
I meet them all, anomalous strangers, aberrant, inquisitive, abnormal. Drawn to me like his Chinese characters, I manipulate with ink into Zen as words, partners. You've got one up on me, for writing on the streets, self-exposure, a species of indulgent criminality. I can't. And what I live from you is aspects of your personality. The jewel-like strands, the dirty stuff that's sweet. I do it in your face. Clouds stacking up like a sugar skull over Leicester Square. Moribund Cyrostratus, humped purple. I get my friends like that. Exchange numbers. The accidental synchronicity works to advantage. The way time slows down in public and seems to create delay, like thinking backwards. Sex comes into it. You don't know what's my preference. Oh yeah, I represent what you've suppressed as arguable potential poetry we all imagine as romantic quest. And I'm the strange attractor, doing it for you with attitude. You won't forget. You won't forget. You won't forget.
Our next poem is for Derek Jarman, great hero of ours, called Dungeness Blues. Before I start, I'd like to thank enormously the lady who read Blake's Sick Rose so fantastically. Thank you deeply for that. It's one of my favorite poems. Thank you so much. Saint Derek, of course. He stands by the track, a prescription in his hand. Quartz mica, basalt granules, grooved from the sand under his Doc Martens, humped up our lymph glands, a face gone in, pointing to the bone. Alone the train late. The cloud signposting rain, oh, if he had a date or moment of hope, round as an orange of life expectancy. Life expectancy. To recharge his aura with rainbow bands. He's singing his lyric into the light, right in himself, not in a viral sweat. His defenses broken down by a replicating copied in his cells. Derek, go home. Go home. If there's such a place, skinny in the waiting, as a tomato stick. Skinny in the waiting as a tomato skinny in the waiting as a tomato stick. Halfway throughout it, I'd like you all to give some applause to Mr. Louis MacNeice. Has a new CD of ours just come out called Excess and Ruin. It's called Loneliness. It's about the great heroine novelist Anna Kavan. Writing writes me autonomous loop, and loneliness don't heat the blood. It's a cool grey opacity, not blue like in the song wailed by Nina Simone. And it's a cannibal, feeds on itself like going in a vein with heroin. For rush hour, dopamine, Anna, and all the soul-long vision as addiction orbit themselves, solipsistic absorption in the one, can't get around, can't get around. Loneliness as a steamy fuzz, like a shower afterglow, a tighter fit than air on air, a sociopathic nose for staying in, a vacuum sealed down in the cellar, spook, spook, spook. It's like a foggy corona I light with words. Don't do a thing to alter thick weather. This drug biting on me as me, indifferent as the North Circular, indifferent as the North Circular. Two more for you. This is called Poetry Bandit. The music is so beautiful. Poetry Bandit. Chase the formula along the foggy mall. St. James's leaf littering, slippery orange slashed with lime. My algorithmic tapping momentum, launching phrases as a crime against all systems. Fucking systems. Internalized heist, like smacking a bite through a shop window. My writings, real letters to real people who live like sitting on window ledges. I don't like normal. It's accidental or deviated, attracts. If you're free, we'll get together for sex or disturb another drug-induced reality. With sci-fi directives, the park's too cold, its colors clash for strong identity. Remember Joe. You work behind the bar, pushing out champagne bottles after hours to friends on Dean Street. From the pub cellar, a second income, pink champagne, not white. It fizzed across our palates like a star. The mouths are lined, directed in an arch towards Trafalgar Square. My body launched along it. Energies directed there faster than I'll ever be. All the way. A diamond glitter dazzles in the air. A diamond glitter dazzles in the air. Dazzles. poem called Soho Johnny, about a friend of ours, somebody very special, who over a period of time sent me poems which are probably some of the best I have ever read in my life. I've read masses of poetry. And John's poems were quite extraordinary. I published in a little book called The Angel on the Threshold, which is a quote from our favourite singer, Mark Almond. Mark contributed a CD to this book called Piccadilly Bongo. This is Soho Johnny.
Soho Johnny.
Tassels lipping like dust outside my basement, NW3. May back again, another year, underwritten like a scar. You missing, and your viral load at last, contact optimal, HIV and drug-induced psychoses, wiping your system, you offline. Anonymous, as the concourse at Piccadilly Circus Underground. Your poems, feed me gritty craft. 2 books from a cooperative signposting. Your subversive youth, your cloney fix on a singer whose bed you shared on Brewer Street. Tantrums and karaoke scenes. He threw knives at you in between diva spectaculars, recording vermin in ermine. You're like a quantum particle, existing simultaneously in 2 places. Body bagged in a mortuary or living lost by yourself. Your letters scored in orange ink. Read like a Burroughs narrative, a drugs lab pharmacology. Your poems, 2 or 3 winners. Don't come better and stick with me, stick with me. And what I remember when out city busy and giving mental space to deep probe issues, they come up as comforters, familiar lines like street names, mapping out a place. So Johnny, stick. Stick with me. Stick. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you look on our website, we perform all over the city quite a lot. We're the only genre who uses this method of music and poetry. Thank you all very much for your comments.